In the far future, when humans had finally learned to travel between stars, they entered a galaxy already full of old civilizations. Some were kind and curious. Others were quiet and proud. But above them all stood the Zarnoth Empire, the most powerful group of alien species in the known universe. The Zarnoth Empire had ruled for thousands of years. They valued order, respect, and discipline. Their cities floated in the clouds of giant planets glowing with perfect light. Their leaders believed in silence, control, and seriousness. To laugh in an imperial meeting was considered rude. To tell a joke was unthinkable. When humans appeared, they seemed strange from the very beginning. They came in noisy ships full of songs, stories, and smiles. They laughed while fixing engines, joked with alien traders, and even made friends with robots by giving them funny names. At first, the Empire ignored them. Humans were new and small, and their planets were far away from the Empire's main routes. But as human traders spread across the stars, they brought something the galaxy had never seen before: humor. In a single year, humans shared hundreds of thousands of jokes, cartoons, and comedy broadcasts through their trade networks. Many alien species found them odd but entertaining. The quiet Malari began to enjoy short human comedies. The curious Trilaxians started translating Earth's old sitcoms. Even the robotic Ethrix began testing laughter simulations. The Zarnoth Empire, however, did not laugh. They watched with growing unease. To them, humor was chaos. It made people unpredictable. It distracted minds from duty. When laughter spread among the smaller races, the Empire's leaders called it a cultural infection. High Lord Threxen, commander of the Imperial fleet, said during one meeting, "Humans are spreading confusion. Laughter is disorder. If this continues, the Empire's harmony will break." The Council agreed. But before they could act, something unexpected happened. A mistaken broadcast a human cargo ship named SS Harmony Star was traveling near the edge of Zarnoth space. Its crew of 12 humans was cheerful, as always. During their journey, they played old comedy shows to pass the time. One of the engineers, a young man named Ben, accidentally connected the entertainment channel to the wrong communication frequency. Instead of sending a cargo report, the ship broadcasted a full hour of human stand-up comedy directly into a Zarnoth military frequency. Across the Empire's border station, Zarnoth soldiers froze as their helmets filled with strange sounds. Human laughter, jokes about space food, and funny impressions of aliens. None of them understood the humor, but the sound of laughter itself made them uncomfortable. The station commander immediately sent a message to his superiors. "We have been insulted," he wrote. "The humans are mocking us." The report climbed up the ranks, each officer adding more misunderstanding. By the time it reached Lord Threxen, the story had changed completely. He believed that humans had deliberately broadcasted a mocking performance to challenge the Empire's authority. "Such disrespect cannot be ignored," Threxen declared. "If we allow this, soon every race will laugh at us." He ordered a small fleet to move toward human space to teach them proper respect. The first encounter on Earth's side, no one expected trouble. Humans were busy celebrating the anniversary of their first interstellar colony. Trade ships moved peacefully, carrying goods and stories between planets. Then, without warning, communications from several human ships went silent. At first, people thought it was a technical issue, but soon reports arrived. Large alien ships had surrounded the human cargo routes. On board the starship Orion's Smile, Captain Riley Morgan received the urgent message. She was a calm, thoughtful woman with a habit of smiling even in difficult times. Her crew looked nervous as the screen displayed the image of Zarnoth warships, sleek, silver, and silent. The aliens sent a message in perfect translation. "Human vessels, you have dishonored the Zarnoth Empire. Prepare for inspection and correction," Riley frowned. "Correction? For what?" No answer came, only the slow approach of enormous ships. The crew began to panic. The weapon systems on Orion's Smile were weak. They were traders, not fighters. "Captain," said the communication officer, "what do we do?" "We can't fight them." Riley looked at the screen again and noticed something odd. The Zarnoth ships were not firing. They were simply waiting, like teachers scolding children. A strange idea entered her mind. "Maybe we can talk," she said softly. "Maybe we can show them that we didn't mean harm." She opened a communication channel and sent a message to the nearest Zarnoth ship. "This is Captain Riley of the Orion's Smile. We apologize if our transmission caused trouble. It was an accident. But before she could finish, the alien replied coldly, "The Empire does not believe in accidents." "You mocked us," Riley blinked.
Mocked you?
"Wait, do you mean the comedy broadcast?" The alien didn't respond. The screen went dark. Riley turned to her crew and sighed. "They think we insulted them. This is ridiculous." The engineer, Ben, the same one who made the broadcast mistake, looked horrified. "Oh no, Captain, I think this is my fault," Riley smiled. "Relax, Ben, we're humans. We'll find a way out of this. We always do." An unusual plan as the Zarnoth fleet held position. The humans gathered in the meeting room. No one knew what to do. The aliens were too powerful to resist, and sending a military response might start a real war. Then, the ship's pilot, a cheerful man named Jordan, spoke up. "Captain, what if—" "We just explain it? Maybe show them what laughter really means to us?" Riley raised an eyebrow. "Explain humor to the most serious beings in the galaxy?" Jordan shrugged. "Hey, maybe they'll laugh." The idea sounded crazy, but it was also the only idea they had. So Riley approved it. The crew began creating a short broadcast about humanity's sense of humor, how laughter helped them cope with fear, sadness, and stress. They added clips of Earth's funniest moments, children giggling, and old comedies. They titled the transmission, "To Laugh is to Live." When the message reached the Zarnoth ships, the response was complete confusion. The aliens didn't know how to react. Their translators worked perfectly, but the emotion behind the words made no sense to them. "Why are they smiling?" asked one Zarnoth officer. "They are surrounded by our fleet, yet they show joy." Lord Threxen himself watched from his command ship. "These humans are strange," he muttered. "They face danger with amusement." His advisors didn't understand either. Some believed it was a psychological weapon. Others thought humans were simply irrational. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Empire hesitated. The power of laughter back on the Orion smile. The crew waited nervously for a response. Minutes passed, then hours. Finally, a single message came through. "Explain this." Laughter. Captain Riley grinned. "They're listening." So she sent another broadcast, this time live. She told the aliens how laughter had united humans during hard times, how it reminded them of hope, friendship, and courage. She even told a few clean jokes. Her crew laughed genuinely, and the sound echoed across the communication channels. On the other side, many Zarnoth officers found the sound strangely pleasant. A few even smiled, though they quickly hid it. Lord Threxen, however, felt uneasy. "This sound is dangerous," he said. "It weakens discipline." But deep inside, even he felt a small spark of curiosity. The Zarnoth fleet finally retreated without attacking. They said nothing and gave no promises. But they left human space quietly, leaving behind a galaxy full of questions. A new kind of war news spread quickly. Every race wanted to know how the humans had made the great Zarnoth fleet withdraw without a single shot. Some said it was diplomacy. Others said it was confusion. But among humans, the answer was simple. They had laughed. Captain Riley's broadcast became famous across human colonies. People began calling her the Smiling Captain. She received countless messages from other ships saying, "If laughter can stop a war, maybe it can change the galaxy." But the Zarnoth Empire did not forget. In their halls of silver and stone, Lord Threxen held another meeting. He stared at the recordings of human laughter and said, "This noise must be studied. If we cannot silence it, we must control it." Thus began a new chapter in the galaxy's history, a strange, silent war not fought with lasers or armies, but with joy, curiosity, and humor. The humans had no idea that their greatest weapon was not their technology or numbers, but something much simpler, their ability to find light even in darkness, and so, the stage was set for the most unusual conflict the galaxy had ever known, a war where one side fought with ships, and the other fought with laughter. The Zarnoth Empire had never been so confused. For centuries their rule had been unquestioned. Entire star systems followed their commands without hesitation. Their words were law, their silence sacred. But now one small and curious species, humans, had broken that calm. Not with weapons, not with rebellion, but with laughter. After the strange encounter with Captain Riley's ship, the Empire's fleets returned to base, bringing with them endless questions and recordings of cheerful human voices. No one could understand why the humans smiled when surrounded by warships. The Empire's scientists studied the sound waves of laughter, trying to find hidden messages or secret energy patterns. They found nothing, and yet they could not stop listening. Confusion in the Empire. In the great halls of Zarnoth Prime, Lord Threxen stood before the Imperial Council. Around him, hundreds of high-ranking aliens sat in silence. Holographic screens showed humans laughing, smiling, and telling jokes. "This sound," Threxen said, "is dangerous. It spreads fast. It changes the way our soldiers think." During the border mission, many of my officers reported feeling lighter. Some even said they wanted to laugh. The council members looked shocked. Laughter was seen as weakness among the Zarnoth. To them, it was a loss of control. "We must prevent this," said Councillor Nira, her voice sharp. "Humans are infecting the galaxy with chaos. If we don't stop them, other races will follow their example." Threxen nodded. "Agreed. The Empire will send a second fleet to remind the humans who leads this galaxy. But this time, we will study them closely." He did not realize that this decision would only make things funnier. Meanwhile, on Earthon, the blue planet far away, the humans were still amazed by what had happened. The news spread faster than light. Zarnoth Empire withdraws after laughter broadcast. Some people thought it was luck. Others believed it was proof that humor was humanity's secret strength. But for Captain Riley and her crew on the Orion Smile, it was just the beginning. In the United Earth Command headquarters, Riley stood before a group of scientists, diplomats, and military officers. Everyone wanted to know how she had made the Empire's fleet leave. "It wasn't magic," she explained, smiling. "They just didn't understand laughter. When we laughed, they got confused. Maybe even curious." A scientist raised his hand. "Do you think laughter affected their systems? Perhaps it interfered with their communication helmets." Riley thought for a moment. "Maybe. But I think it affected their minds more than their machines." The room fell silent. Then someone in the back said half-jokingly, "Should we start a comedy army?" Everyone laughed. But Riley didn't dismiss the idea. She looked thoughtful. "What if we actually could? What if laughter is something we can use not as a weapon but as a shield?" And so began Operation Laughing Shield. The plan was simple but strange. Instead of building more weapons, humans began creating communication devices that could broadcast humor, joy, and positive messages across space. They worked day and night, collecting jokes, songs, funny animations, and laughter recordings. Scientists developed small drones called jesters, tiny satellites that could fly through space, spreading harmless signals of laughter. Each jester carried thousands of jokes and could beam cheerful holograms to any nearby ship. Soon, the first wave of jesters was ready. When the Zarnoth Empire sent their second fleet toward human space, they expected silence. Instead, they entered a region filled with strange sounds. Their communication systems picked up songs, laughter, and cheerful greetings. "Hello, friends. Welcome to the Milky Way," said one broadcast in perfect Zarnoth language. Another message followed, full of cheerful music. "Why did the alien refuse to eat dinner on Earth?" "Because it didn't want to eat human food, too spicy." The alien pilots stared at their screens in confusion. "What is happening?" one of them asked. "Are they mocking us again?" But this time the laughter didn't sound like mockery. It was warm and welcoming. Some Zarnoth soldiers felt an odd feeling inside, a soft, pleasant sensation they had never experienced before. The Empire Reacts Lord Threxen received hundreds of reports from his fleet. His officers couldn't concentrate. Many started humming the human tunes they had heard. In frustration, Threxen ordered the signals blocked. "Silence those noises immediately," he commanded, but the jesters were too many. Every time one signal was blocked, 10 more appeared. The humans had filled space with laughter. Back on Earth, Captain Riley watched the data from her ship. "It's working," she said quietly. "They're not attacking. They're listening." Her crew laughed in relief. "We've turned a war zone into a comedy club," said Jordan, the pilot. But Riley was still cautious. "The Empire won't give up easily. We need to be ready for their next move." The unexpected discovery. While monitoring the alien responses, human scientists made a fascinating discovery. The Zarnoth communication helmets used neural synchronization, a kind of brain link that allowed them to share thoughts instantly. But when they heard laughter, the rhythm of their neural link broke slightly, causing harmless confusion and minor system errors. In simple words, Zarnoth technology didn't know how to handle joy. When the Empire's officers tried to ignore the laughter, their helmets buzzed with static. The more they resisted, the worse it became. But if they relaxed and listened, the system stabilized again. Humans realized that laughter didn't just confuse the Empire, it encouraged peace. It was like trying to fight while smiling. The anger just melted away. Riley smiled when she heard the report. "So laughter isn't just a shield," she said. "It's harmony." Laughter spread soon. The idea spread across all human colonies. Every ship started carrying humor transmitters. They called them joy beacons. When Zarnoth patrols approached, instead of warnings or threats, they received cheerful greetings. "Hello, did you hear the one about the black hole who wanted a hug? What do you call an alien who loves Earth TV shows? A fan from another planet." At first, the aliens ignored these signals. But after a while, even the most serious Zarnoth officers found themselves waiting for the next joke. Some even began saving the transmission secretly. In the quiet of their quarters, they replayed human comedies and felt something new. Warmth, lightness, maybe even happiness. Division in the Empire, inside the Empire. Not everyone agreed with Lord Threxen anymore. Younger officers, especially those who had seen human broadcasts, began to question the old rules. "Maybe the humans aren't enemies," one said. "Maybe they just want to share their culture." But the older leaders refused to listen. "Laughter weakens the spirit," they insisted. It must be stopped. This difference in thinking created the first cracks in the Empire's unity. Meanwhile, on human worlds, artists and comedians became heroes. Every new performance was translated into alien languages and sent across space. There were even interstellar talk shows where aliens could call in and try to tell their own jokes. The galaxy was changing, slowly, but surely. A meeting of two worlds one day. A small Zarnoth exploration ship was surrounded by a group of human communication drones. Instead of running, they opened a channel and asked to speak directly with a human. Captain Riley received the message. On her screen appeared a young Zarnoth officer. His silver eyes were calm but curious. "I am Lieutenant Varric," he said. "My people think your laughter is a weapon, but it does not feel like one. It feels like sunlight." Riley smiled gently. "It's not a weapon. It's a gift. We laugh not to hurt, but to heal. Even in hard times, laughter helps us remember hope." Varric nodded slowly. Perhaps the Empire has forgotten what hope feels like. That short conversation became famous across both sides. It was the first friendly talk between humans and Zarnoth since the misunderstanding began. The turning point begins. Lord Threxen was furious when he learned about the meeting. "The humans are infecting our officers with their emotions," he shouted. "If they continue, our discipline will collapse." He ordered a final operation, Silent Storm, to end the human broadcasts once and for all. But even as his fleet prepared to move, laughter was spreading faster than ever. The jester drones reached neutral planets, and soon even other alien species started laughing. Whole worlds began sharing jokes in hundreds of languages. The Zarnoth Empire could feel their grip weakening, not from attack, but from joy. And while the Empire prepared its next move, Captain Riley looked out at the stars and said softly, "They think laughter makes us weak, but soon they'll see it's our greatest strength." Her crew nodded, smiles lighting their faces. The war was far from over. But humanity had already changed the battlefield forever. It was no longer a fight for survival. It was a contest of hearts. And in that contest, laughter was humanity's loudest victory cry. The mighty Zarnoth Empire had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had faced powerful enemies, dangerous creatures, and countless rebellions. Yet none of those challenges had ever confused them as much as the humans did. Humans had turned war into a festival of laughter. Their ships didn't send threats. They sent jokes. Their soldiers didn't fire weapons. They shared funny videos and joyful songs. Every battle zone became a strange concert of happiness. The more the Empire tried to stop it, the worse it became. The laughter spread like light through darkness. Even the most serious aliens could not ignore it anymore. Lord Threxen, leader of the Imperial fleet, could not understand what was happening. His reports were filled with words he hated. Laughter, smiling, jokes, songs. He stood in the command room of his great ship, Zarnoth Prime Star, and looked at his tired officers. Our soldiers are losing focus, he said in a deep voice. They speak of humans as if they are magicians. They say laughter makes them feel strange. This must stop. His advisor, General Nira, bowed. We have tried to block human signals, but their messages keep finding a way through. They appear on our helmets, our data screens, even our supply ships. It is as if laughter itself has learned to fly. Threxon's expression darkened. Then perhaps the humans have created a new kind of weapon. We will learn how it works, and destroy it. Seeds of curiosity. While the Empire tried to silence laughter, something unexpected was happening inside it. Many young Zarnoth soldiers had started to secretly enjoy human broadcasts. In their private time, they listened to Earth music, watched comedy shows, and even tried to understand human humor. It was difficult, but they liked how it made them feel, lighter, freer. One of them was Lieutenant Varric, the same young officer who had once spoken with Captain Riley. Since that day, his curiosity about humans had only grown. Varric sat in his quarters, watching a human comedy show on a small hidden screen. A group of humans on stage were telling jokes about everyday life. The crowd in the video laughed so loudly that even Varric smiled a little. When his roommate entered, Varric quickly turned off the screen. "You're still watching human broadcasts, aren't you?" the roommate said quietly. Varric hesitated. I just want to understand them. How can a species be so calm and happy, even in danger?" His friend shrugged. Maybe they are not calm. Maybe they are just strange. But Varric didn't agree. Deep in his heart, he felt there was more to it. The human way far away, on Earth, Captain Riley and her crew were working harder than ever. The laughter strategy was spreading fast, and now every human colony wanted to join. In orbit around Mars, a new communication station called the Smile Network had been built. It could broadcast laughter across entire star systems. The project united scientists, comedians, and musicians from all over humanity. Captain Riley stood before the main screen of the Orion Smile and watched the latest transmissions. Dozens of human comedians were performing for alien audiences through holographic links. One alien with 6 eyes laughed so hard that tears came out of all of them. Another alien with glowing skin giggled so much that his body changed color like a rainbow. Riley couldn't help but smile. "We've turned the galaxy into one big comedy club," she said. Her pilot, Jordan, nodded. "I never thought laughter could travel faster than light." Her communication officer, Sarah, added, "The Empire must be so confused right now." Riley laughed. "Good. Maybe confusion will make them curious, and curiosity is the first step to peace." Laughter versus silence. Back in the Empire, Lord Threxon held another meeting. The large hall was filled with serious faces. No one dared to smile. The recordings of human broadcasts played on a giant screen in front of them. The sounds of laughter filled the room. Some council members tried not to react, but even they couldn't stop small smiles from appearing. Threxon slammed his staff on the floor. "Control yourselves," he shouted. "Do you not see what is happening? This noise is spreading like a disease." Counselor Nira spoke carefully. "But my lord, not all effects are negative. Reports show that soldiers exposed to human laughter experience less stress, fewer mistakes, and even faster thinking." Threxon stared at her. "Are you suggesting we learn from them?" Nira hesitated. "Perhaps understanding them could help us." The hall grew silent. The Empire had never studied a culture so different from its own. But secretly, even the proud Threxon wondered what made laughter so powerful. The secret students, in the shadows of the Empire, secret groups began to form. They were called the Smile Seekers, young Zarnoth officers and scientists who believed humans were not enemies but teachers. They met in quiet rooms, sharing human jokes and learning to laugh. It wasn't easy. Zarnoth mouths weren't built for smiling, but they tried. They practiced by watching human movies, copying the sounds of laughter, and even learning to say ha-ha correctly. For them, it wasn't just about humor. It was about freedom. The more they laughed, the more alive they felt. Varric became one of their leaders. "The Empire fears laughter," he told his group, "because laughter breaks chains. It reminds people that we can think for ourselves." They decided to send a message to humanity, but carefully, without getting caught. They used an old signal route hidden in the Empire's data system and sent a short note. To the humans, we are listening. Your laughter brings light. Teach us more. The message reached Earth weeks later. When Captain Riley read it, her heart filled with hope. They want to learn, she said softly. We've reached them. The great broadcast inspired by the message, humans decided to make their biggest broadcast yet. The event was called the Galactic Smile Show. It was a live comedy and music performance meant for every species in the galaxy, including the Zarnoth. The broadcast would last for 24 hours and feature humor, songs, and messages of friendship. Captain Riley and her crew were chosen to host the event. As the show began, millions of humans and aliens tuned in from their worlds. The first act was a group of children telling simple jokes about stars and planets. Their laughter echoed through the galaxy. Why did the astronaut bring a broom to space? One child asked. To sweep through the Milky Way. Even the most serious aliens found themselves chuckling. When the transmission reached the Zarnoth capital, technicians tried to block it, but something strange happened. Their computers malfunctioned every time they tried to mute the laughter. The system simply refused to silence joy. In his command room, Lord Threxen watched the show. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel anger. He felt something warm. He didn't understand it, but it made his chest feel light. He looked around and saw his officers smiling quietly. No one dared to speak, but everyone felt it. The laughter had reached their hearts. The beginning of change. After the show ended, something remarkable happened. Across the Empire, people started laughing quietly in secret. Workers shared small jokes. Soldiers smiled at each other. The silence of the Empire began to break. Threxen, however, felt torn. Part of him wanted to destroy the human influence forever, but another part, the part that had laughed, wanted to understand it. Late one night, he watched a human interview with Captain Riley. She said something that stayed in his mind. Laughter isn't about disrespect. It's about connection. When we laugh, we share a piece of our hearts. He replayed that sentence over and over. The next day, he called his advisors. Prepare our ships, he said. We are going to Earth, not to fight, but to talk. The Empire gasped in shock. The most serious leader in the galaxy wanted to meet the humans face to face. The universe begins to smile. While the Empire prepared its journey, laughter continued to spread everywhere. The Malari turned their communication towers into music stations. The robotic Ethrix created a laughter algorithm, so even machines could tell jokes. Everywhere across the stars, joy replaced fear. Captain Riley looked at the night sky from the deck of her ship and whispered, It's working. The galaxy is changing. Her crew stood beside her, smiling. They didn't know what would happen when the Empire arrived, but they believed that laughter had already won half the battle. In that moment, the stars didn't look distant anymore. They looked alive, twinkling like tiny smiles scattered across the universe. And for the first time in history, even the cold halls of the Zarnoth Empire echoed with quiet, hesitant laughter. The sun rose over Earth, painting the sky with a warm golden light. It should have been a peaceful morning, but everyone on the planet knew that something big was coming. The Galactic Empire had decided to end the human laughter problem once and for all. The Empire's supreme commander, Lord Threxen, had lost all patience. The Zarnoth fleets had been embarrassed, their systems confused by human jokes and their soldiers distracted by comedy broadcasts. To him, this was the greatest insult in galactic history. So, he gathered the largest fleet ever seen. Thousands of warships glowing in silver armor moving together like a metal storm. Their goal was simple: silence the humans forever. Meanwhile, Earth's people were watching the stars, not with fear, but with determination. Humanity had faced many challenges before, disasters, wars, and crises, but this time their weapon was not made of metal. It was made of joy. Captain Riley stood on the bridge of her ship, Orion's smile as the fleet prepared. Her crew looked serious but calm. They're coming, said Ensign Park, looking at the radar. The Empire's ships are less than 1 day away, Riley nodded. Good. That gives us enough time to finish Operation Laughing Sky. Her crew smiled at the name. It was not a plan of destruction. It was a plan of connection. Across Earth and its colonies, scientists and artists had worked together to create something new. massive holographic projectors in orbit. These would not fire weapons. Instead, they would beam laughter, music, and smiling faces into the void of space. Riley walked to the center of the bridge and looked at her crew. Listen, everyone. The Empire doesn't understand us. They think laughter is weakness. But laughter is hope. It means we're still human, even in the darkest times. Today, we'll remind them of that. The crew nodded with pride. In deep space, the Zarnoth Armada approached like a wall of fire. Lord Threxen sat in his grand command chair, his four eyes glowing with anger. Around him, officers moved silently, afraid to speak. Are we in range of the human world? Threxen asked coldly. Almost, my lord, replied an officer. We detect their defense grid, but no weapons are charging. It's strange, no weapons? Threxen's voice rumbled like thunder. Then they have already surrendered. Perfect. But just as he prepared to give the order to advance, something appeared ahead. Dozens of bright lights flickered in the blackness of space. At first, the Zarnoth thought they were explosions, but then the lights began to take shape. A massive image formed across the stars. A giant human face, smiling warmly. Then another, and another. Within moments, hundreds of holographic projections filled the sky, each showing people laughing, waving, singing, and cheering. What is this? Threxen shouted. A trick? The lights grew brighter, and suddenly, sound filled the communication channels, human laughter, joyful and pure, echoing across the galaxy. The alien soldiers froze, confused. They had expected fear, not happiness. The human message began to play, spoken in every galactic language. We do not fight to destroy. We fight to share joy. If you attack us, we will not cry. We will laugh, and we will keep laughing until even you remember what it feels like to smile. Threxen growled. Shut it down. Destroy the signal. But it was already too late. The Zarnoth communication systems began to overload. Their translators couldn't process the complex mix of sound, tone, and emotion. The system tried to label laughter as aggressive noise, then as unknown weapon, then finally crashed. All across the fleet, strange things started happening. Pilots began giggling without knowing why. Engineers found themselves tapping their feet to the rhythm of human songs. Some officers secretly smiled for the first time in their lives. One young cadet whispered, It's beautiful. Threxen turned sharply. Beautiful? It's chaos. But as he looked at the holograms again, even he felt something, an unfamiliar warmth in his chest. For the first time in years, the mighty commander felt calm. He shook his head. No, turn off the visuals. Block the signal. Back on Earth, Captain Riley and her crew watched the scene unfold from their ship's screens. It's working, said Park with wide eyes. The Empire's formation is breaking. Their ships are slowing down, Riley smiled. Keep transmitting. Add the children's laughter recordings. Let's show them joy in its purest form. As more holograms appeared showing children, families, and friends laughing together, the sound waves spread like a gentle ocean wave. The Empire's fleet began to glow faintly, their energy systems reacting to the positive frequency. The humans had discovered something remarkable. Laughter carried an energy pattern that disrupted the neural links of the Zarnoth soldiers. But instead of hurting them, it released the pressure from their strict minds. Soon many alien soldiers began removing their helmets. For the first time they felt lightness, not duty. One of them whispered, I feel free. Inside the Empire's command ship, chaos continued, but not the violent kind. Officers began chuckling. One technician started laughing uncontrollably after seeing a holographic cat chasing its tail. The laughter spread like a wave, jumping from ship to ship. Lord Threxen stood in disbelief as his command room filled with giggles and soft laughter. Stop laughing, he yelled, but the sound was drowned by joyful noise. He slammed his fists on the control panel, but the system responded with a cheerful tune. Someone had replaced the ship's alert tone with a human song. The commander froze. The more he tried to be angry, the more ridiculous it felt. His crew was laughing, his ship was singing, and for the first time he realized how empty his world had been. Slowly, a strange sound escaped his mouth. It was rusty and rough, almost forgotten. He was laughing. He looked around, shocked at himself, but his officers were smiling at him, not out of fear, but out of happiness. One of them said softly, Maybe the humans are right, my lord. Maybe laughter isn't weakness. Threxen didn't respond. He just stared at the Earth through the viewport. The blue planet shone like a jewel surrounded by shimmering holograms of joy. For the first time in his life, he didn't see an enemy. He saw life, color, and warmth. On Earth, people gathered in streets, parks, and rooftops watching the sky. News screens everywhere showed the Empire's fleet slowing down and drifting away. Cheers filled the air. Musicians played, comedians performed live, and people danced. Captain Riley received a message from the Empire's command ship. It was short but clear. We surrender. Teach us this thing you call laughter. Riley smiled with tears in her eyes. Tell them they're welcome to visit Earth any time, she said softly. The message was sent, and across the galaxy for the first time in centuries, there was peace not from fear or force but from understanding. Later that night, Riley stood on the ship's observation deck, looking down at Earth. We did it, said Park quietly. Riley nodded. Yes, not with lasers or bombs, but with laughter. The stars twinkled around them, almost as if they too were smiling. For the first time, humanity realized that the strongest sound in the universe wasn't the noise of battle. It was the sound of joy shared between hearts. And somewhere far away, in his great ship, Lord Threxen looked into the mirror and saw himself smiling. It felt strange, but also good. He decided to keep practicing. That night, for the first time in galactic history, both sides laughed together. The galaxy had changed forever. Where once the stars had seemed cold and distant, now they twinkled like sparks of life. The Empire's great fleets had withdrawn, not out of defeat by force, but because they had discovered something new, something humans had always known. Laughter. On Earth, celebrations continued day and night. Cities glowed with lights, streets were filled with music, and humans of all ages danced under the stars. Even in the farthest colonies, people sang songs of joy, telling stories of the day humanity had faced the most powerful empire and won, not with weapons, but with laughter. Captain Riley stood on the deck of the Orion's Smile, gazing at the Milky Way. Her crew gathered beside her, their faces glowing with pride. It's amazing, said Ensign Park. The whole galaxy is laughing. Riley smiled. Not just laughing. They're learning. An invitation across the stars. Lord Threxen, the once strict commander of the Zarnoth Empire, had spent weeks thinking about what had happened. He had learned to laugh, to smile, and even to enjoy small jokes. But more importantly, he had realized that laughter was not a weakness. It was a bridge. He called for an urgent Imperial Council meeting. Officers and council members, some still giggling quietly, waited nervously. Threxen cleared his throat. The humans have taught us something we could not learn ourselves, he began. They showed that strength is not only in force, but in joy. They did not fight us. They gave us laughter, and in that we found peace. There was silence in the council hall. Then Threxen continued, holding a small device in his hand, a holographic communicator. I propose we visit Earth, not as conquerors, but as guests. We will learn from the humans, and together, we will celebrate life in the galaxy. The room erupted in whispered excitement. Officers who had never dared to smile openly now grinned widely. This was unprecedented. The mighty Empire was asking permission to meet a new species, not to fight but to share laughter. Preparing for the first Galactic Comedy Festival, humans were equally excited. Once the invitation arrived, Captain Riley and her team began preparations for what they called the first Galactic Comedy Festival. It was to take place on Mars, chosen for its open landscapes and large spaceports. Cities were decorated with colorful lights, stages were built, and communication satellites were prepared to beam laughter across the galaxy. Artists, musicians, comedians, and engineers from Earth and its colonies worked together to make the event spectacular. They designed performances that could be enjoyed by every species, with translations, holographic projections, and musical adaptations for alien senses. Riley oversaw the final rehearsals. Children practiced jokes, dancers prepared for zero-gravity performances, and human musicians tuned instruments that could harmonize with alien frequencies. This is going to be incredible, said Jordan, the pilot. We're not just entertaining, we're connecting worlds. Riley nodded. Exactly. Today, the galaxy learns that joy is stronger than fear. Arrival of the Empire. On the morning of the festival, a fleet of Zarnoth ships entered Mars orbit. Thousands of warships glimmered in formation. But something was different this time. They were not silent and threatening. They were curious. Lord Threxen personally led the delegation. He looked at Mars, its cities glowing with lights and music. Around him, other officers and young cadets whispered in awe. Varek, now an officer of courage and curiosity, turned to his commander. "My lord, they have created a world of joy. I have never seen anything like it." Threxen nodded slowly. "Then we will see it together." The Empire's ships descended, docking at the spaceports. Aliens stepped onto Mars cautiously, unsure of what to expect. Humans greeted them with smiles, waving hands, and cheerful voices. For the first time in history, humans and Zarnoth stood together, strangers, yet connected. The festival begins. The festival opened with children from Earth telling simple jokes. Their laughter was clear and warm, echoing across Mars's red plains. Holographic screens translated their words for alien visitors, and even the most serious Zarnoth cadets found themselves giggling. Then came performances by humans of all ages. Singers, dancers, comedians, and even storytellers shared their art. Holograms created fantastical worlds where aliens could see humans in playful situations, acting out skits that were both funny and heartwarming. The Zarnoth soldiers, who had once feared the humans, now laughed openly. Officers who had never smiled in public before chuckled and clapped. Even Lord Threxen found himself enjoying a simple skit about humans trying to bake alien pastries. "This is remarkable," he whispered. "They do not fight to hurt. They fight to share happiness." Varek smiled beside him. "They are not just strong, they are human." The turning point in understanding. Throughout the day, humans and aliens mingled, exchanged jokes, and learned from each other. They shared stories of their planets, their challenges, and their dreams. Humans learned about Zarnoth culture, and Zarnoth officers discovered how laughter could strengthen courage instead of weakening it. For the first time, both species realized that laughter was a universal language. A shared smile could cross the barriers of culture, language, and even biology. In one corner, a young Zarnoth cadet laughed at a human joke about a robot and a cat. Nearby, a human scientist tried to mimic a Zarnoth expression, failing hilariously, and both sides roared with laughter. Captain Riley watched quietly, thinking this is what victory feels like, not destruction, but connection. A message to the galaxy. As the sun set on Mars, the festival reached its peak. A giant holographic screen displayed humans and aliens together, smiling and laughing. Captain Riley stepped forward to give a speech. "My friends," she said, her voice amplified across the festival and to distant worlds. "Today is not just a celebration of humans or Zarnoth. It is a celebration of life itself. Every species has joy inside them. Every heart can feel hope. Today we learn that laughter is stronger than fear, brighter than anger, and more powerful than any weapon." Lord Threxen, standing beside her, nodded. He raised his hand to the crowd and said in a clear voice, "The Empire has learned from the humans. Laughter is not weakness. It is strength. Let this day remind the galaxy that life is meant to be shared, and that joy is the greatest gift we can give each other." The crowd erupted in applause, cheers, and laughter. Humans, aliens, and even robots danced together. Holograms projected the festival to distant galaxies, where beings who had never seen humans laughed along. The beginning of a new era. From that day on, the galaxy changed. Conflicts that once relied on fear or force began to resolve through dialogue, creativity, and understanding. The Zarnoth Empire became known not as conquerors but as learners. They studied human art, music, and humor, and in turn shared their own stories with humanity. Captain Riley returned to her ship, standing under the Martian night sky. "We did it," she said softly. "We didn't just win a battle. We changed the galaxy." Jordan grinned. "Who would have thought a good joke could do that?" Riley smiled. "Humans have always known. Laughter isn't just fun, it's a bridge. It connects us even when the universe feels too big." In distant fleets, Zarnoth ships now patrolled not for war but for friendship and learning. Young officers like Varek sent messages to humans asking for new stories, jokes, and songs. Across the stars, laughter became a shared treasure. And somewhere far away in the quiet of space, humans and aliens alike looked up at the same stars, smiling. They had discovered something that would last forever. Joy, connection, and hope were more powerful than any empire or weapon. For the first time in history, the galaxy truly smiled.